Without a calendar, there's zero chance of you being productive. And some of you are like, I'm too spontaneous. I can't really live in that way. There is massive freedom and structure. You just gotta do the work. Welcome back to Real Estate Business Builders. My name is Lars Hedenborg, the founder of Real Estate B School, where the B stands for business. I teach agents how to grow and scale their business without losing their life, without the grind. Today's episode is going to be about the essentials, 3 essentials to a great productivity system. And what I mean by that is that my wish for all of you is to make the kind of money that you want to make, working the kind of hours that you want to work, and not having to endure the levels of stress that traditionally successful agents have to endure. And I want you to detach money from time. And this productivity system, and I'm going to be a little bit in the clouds on this one, and then I'll land it with some tactics. But there are 3 essentials when it comes to a great productivity system. And I will say that I have been working on this for every bit of 16 plus years since I got into business for myself. I left my corporate job in March 5th, 2007, just as our market was turning here. You could look at, I remember in like late 2008 when everything hit the fan. I remember looking back into our local market stats, and you saw in June 2007, this was a full 18 months after getting into real estate, after I left a cozy multiple 6-figure corporate job. Looking back at the market stats and just seeing inventory shoot straight through the roof. We had at one point, we had 20 months of inventory. So radically different market than today, but it was a bloodbath. Fully 2/3 of the agents in my market got out of the business. And we're in a similar time now in terms of agents getting out of the business, but it's driven by different dynamic. I'm not going to get into it too much, but there's just not enough inventory. There's just not enough sales because the shortage of inventory and rates, and buyers sitting on the sidelines and wondering, hoping if rates are going to come down and if prices are ever going to come down. I don't think they will, because I don't think the supply and demand issue is going to normalize or level out for who knows if ever. So a topic for another podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the essentials of great productivity systems. So number 1, and this is going to sound basic, as I look at my journey, and my journey was one of, how do I make a lot of money in real estate and not have to give up my life in the process? And my vision was to make 7 figures and working a reasonable work week. So less than 40 hours. My goal was 20 hours a week. And not all the time have I made 7 figures, and not all the time do I work less than 20 hours a week. That's just the goal. That's my guiding principle. And it forces me to work on the things that only make me that kind of money. So the number 1 thing here, essential, is time blocking and living by your calendar. In Real Estate B School, we have a very, very specific system for this. Every quarter, we look at where we spent our time. We actually do what we call a time study. It's a 14-day, somewhat painful. Some don't make it through the full 14 days, but we take an inventory of where we spent our time in the last 14 days on a 15-minute, from the moment you wake up till you go to sleep, for 14 days in a row, where you spend your time. I know it's not the thing that's going to be like, Lars, can I work with you? I can't wait to get into Real Estate B School. Most of you are like, okay, I definitely don't want to do that. The thing it'll do for you, though, even if you do 1 or 2 of these a year, you're going to be acutely aware of the fact that you're just wasting time. And you can either give that time back to your family, you can give it back to yourself, you can give it back to, dollar productive activities in the business that will make you the kind of money that you want to make. But bottom line, it comes into creating this ideal week and shedding off the things every quarter that aren't making you money. So once you do a time study, you have an inventory of all the things that you worked on. You get to spread them on what we call a passion versus pay grid, and then delegate or automate the things that just aren't that dollar productive. And then put the things into your calendar that make you the kind of money that you want to make after you put in all the personal things that you want to accomplish, right? So that's the number 1 essential, is that the backdrop to all of this is you knowing what you're supposed to do all the time. So when I open my calendar, I live in my calendar right? There's another cool thing I'm going to show you here. I live in my calendar. So when I look at, my work week for one Monday, I've got a cool work week now. I don't start my days until noon and I end them at 4, but I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, from the time I'm going to work. Also, I know that I'm going to wake up at 6:45, roughly, a little bit early usually. I'm going to spend, 30 to 45 minutes with my wife. We're going to go work out together before, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we work out together. Those days we wake up a little bit earlier so we can still get our connection time with our devotional and stuff like that. Um, and then I've got a big time block to take care of my physical health. I do a weekly financial review. It's all in here. I do my value post in the Real Estate Business Builders free Facebook group, which you should join, by the way. It is all scripted for me. There's no guesswork. If you're watching the video version, I'm showing my calendar right now, right? But if I click on this and I click off my calendar, and I click on the ideal week, you won't see this if you're just listening, but we actually have. I'll put that up there if you can see it. Well, you probably can't see it too much, but there's actually an ideal week, right? Where the afternoons are appointments, the morning is, new business development, and you've got the time blocked in red there for family time or buffer time or exercise time, when you're with the family, when you work out, when you're doing date night, when you're going to church, when you're working on the business, all those things, right? So without a calendar, there's zero chance of you being productive. And some of you are like, I'm too spontaneous. I can't really live in that way. There is massive freedom in structure. That's what I'll end this first essential with. There's massive freedom in structure. The reason I'm able to take off whenever I want and time block my work week essentially is Monday through Thursday, 12 to 4. It wasn't always like that. First year in real estate, my first full year, I sold 44 homes. I know I say that all the time. Bear with me. I was working 24/7. I was sneaking out of, bed to answer leads that came in or to take a client call, or we would be at the zoo with my son and, I'd be on my phone, or you're feeding him a bottle. I'd be on my phone and just not present. One picture my wife has, we were on our first vacation after I got into real estate and I was working a deal that ultimately fell apart and it just destroyed the connection I had with my wife at the time. Right. So there's all these things we do to get where we are. And I can't say I did all of it perfectly, but over time, the thing I realized that the essential here is that you have to time block, you have to live in your calendar, and there's freedom and structure. That's number one. Number two is you have to establish a weekly cadence. This is essential. And what I mean by weekly cadence, I'll break it down starting with the week into the daily. And this fits into a bigger framework in Real Estate B School where we call it a 3-1-90. Well, what I call it, 3-1-90, 13-7. So, or 5 days in a week. So 3-year vision, 1-year plan, 90-day world, 13 weeks in a quarter, essentially, and then 7 days in a week. But the weekly cadence, let me just focus on that now in terms of like the day-to-day, week-to-week productivity system. There's 3 parts in it. So once a week, you're going to have a weekly planning session. This is when you're looking back the prior week and you're answering a few questions. What did I actually achieve the things I set out to achieve last week? What went well? What didn't go well? For the things I didn't achieve that I said I wanted to achieve, what got in the way? Anything based on this last week that I should start doing or stop doing that didn't lead me to be more effective or to actually achieve meaningful goals in the life that matter to me. And you're just sort of sitting with a look back. In that same weekly planning session, you're looking forward and saying, okay, based on, this is more the quarterly rhythm, based on the projects that I commit to working on this quarter or the focus areas for the quarter of my business, what are the 3 big things I want to accomplish this coming week? And what other things are going on this week that I need to sort of be aware of as I consider these 3 projects that I want to move forward or chunks of projects that I want to move forward, right? So you're kind of thinking of the week ahead. And then in the daily, there's 2 things you do. One is you start the day and one is you shut down the day or you stop the day. When you start the day, the most important, there's 2 parts to it. First part is the top 3 action items that you're going to do that fit into those three big project, 3 big moves for the week that I just talked about in weekly planning, the 3 things you must get done today. These are not necessarily like you already know you're going to go on a listing appointment. You already know you're going to show some property, not those types of things, but it's above and beyond those types of things, things that you have to get done that are going to move your business forward in a meaningful way. Also in the daily to start today is just writing down 3 things that you're grateful for. Very simple. It's going to sort of instill this, this contentment, uh, this attitude of gratitude by always looking for the things that you're grateful for. That's to start the day. Top 3 things you're grateful for. When you end the day, this daily debrief, as I call it, you're looking for 3 amazing things that happened today. Just, not necessarily tied to your business, but just 3 amazing things that happened. Again, it's going to sort of fuel this psychology of contentment and fulfillment. So 3 amazing things that happened. And then what did I accomplish today? Did I actually accomplish the 3 things that I set out to accomplish? If not, what got in the way? That's it. That's your daily cadence. So top 3 for today, your daily debrief and the weekly planning session. That's the weekly cadence. The third essential of an effective, monumentally productive system in terms of getting stuff done is you have to be able to organize tasks and projects. So I've used a bunch of different stuff over the years. I have just found an app. So I'm a Mac Apple user. And this is, I think it's probably the same for Android. It's cross-platform. It's called TickTick, TickTick. It is unbelievably powerful. I'm going to show you that's sort of like my different folders there. So it's essentially a task manager that bleeds into your calendar. You sync it with your calendar. There's an Eisenhower matrix where you can, if you don't know the Eisenhower matrix, it's essentially, a quadrant for a two by two quadrant where there's urgency and importance. So if it's not urgent and it's not important, just don't do it. If it's really urgent and really important, do it immediately, right? And then if it's not urgent, but really important, you schedule it. And if it's not important but urgent, I think you delegate it or something like that. So it's like the 4 Ds. It's a 4D calendar system. There's that in there. And then there's also a cool habit tracker, which is awesome. I used to have a different app for my habit trackers. And then it all rolls up into like a daily list. So I look at today and I've got all my habits and all my different tasks for today. It is just about the coolest thing. Knowing what I know now, this is the system. And I could probably do a deeper dive on that one platform and how I'm using it. But essentially, when I look at my main screen here, I have the inbox is where my inbox is empty, which is good. You need a system, bring it back to the productivity system. You need a way to just get stuff out of your mind. So as I think I'm laying in bed and I think of something, my phone is in the bathroom, but I'll like run up and I'll just put it into my inbox. So I'll capture it and then I'll decide where it goes. What business? Is it a project? Is it personal? A podcast ideas? So right now I'm recording the 3 essentials of a great productivity system. I can check it off because I have put it in my podcast idea folder. So that's just a good example of how I use it. Planning, I've got different templates. I've got my fitness stuff, the things I'm waiting on. Sometimes it'll be, I've got my goals, my vision, my purpose in here. I'll come up with stuff that, it's someday, it's just an idea that I had, maybe a good idea, but I don't want to lose it, but I'm not going to work on it even this year, or maybe even next year, maybe a trip that we want to go on, or, something I saw somewhere, about a health hack or a YouTube video that I want to view later, or whatever it is. You need a way to organize all of this, and then just a way to make sure you're not missing out on the things that truly matter, and a way to integrate it back into your calendar. And now, so when I look at, I mentioned the weekly cadence in here, I've got recurring tasks in here that remind me to do my startup for the day. So my top 3, my gratitude for the day. I've got it pops up as a daily debrief with the template, with the questions laid out there that I want to answer. Let me get those exact questions because they actually weren't, I didn't cover them exactly. So the daily review. Yeah. So what did I accomplish today? What's the highlight of today, of the day? Did I encounter any difficulties? What's my mood and any special thoughts? Right. So, and then my weekly planning session, kind of went through that. And my daily top three are the three gratitudes and the three things I must accomplish in the day. So they just show up in that productivity app. And the app doesn't come formatted anyway. So you sort of have to bring this mindset of everything has to integrate into the calendar. You have to have this cadence of start today, stop today, weekly planning session, and then just a way to get stuff out of your brain and into something that can hold all of it. So that is my wish for all of you, is in order to achieve great things, to build a massive business that allows you to make the kind of money that you never thought was possible, but not give your life away in the process, right? I'm all about helping you grow your sales, grow your income, grow your net worth without the grind, without the stress. So hopefully these three essentials will get you on your way. I want to ask you to jump into my free Facebook group, Real Estate Business Builders. I do a weekly live stream training in there. There's no agenda in there except to add massive value to your business. At some point, you may decide to have a conversation with my team about what that might look like. But the nature of that group is to give as much as I possibly can to help as many agents as I possibly can. This is going to be a squirrely time in real estate, the next 12, 24, even maybe 36 months. I watch some guys that are thinking it's going to be a lost decade in terms of the kind of turbulence that we're going to go through and the reckoning of, politics aside, just kicking the can in terms of some of our fiscal habits and, quantitative tightening and easing and, all of it, I think, is going to come to a head. So that said, you want to be in a community that doesn't give a crap about any of that. We're aware of it, but we're still putting our heads down. We're doing the work. That is Real Estate Business Builders. Go to Facebook, get on Real Estate Business Builders, a couple questions to answer. We'll let you into the group. We'll tag you in trainings. We'll find out exactly what you're struggling with. I do a weekly live stream in there as well, which is pretty cool. And that's all I've got. So apply these three essentials to your business, to your life, see massive success, and we'll see you on the next episode. Much love.